Hey guys, I'm out in the garage with my latest find. It's a Stromberg Carlson TV-12. I got this off a local Craigslist. It had been on there for a few weeks with no pictures and a vague description that made me think it might even be the console version, because it talked about it being a TV radio with a phono option. And I know there are versions of this set that are a big console set, and I just don't want to deal with something like that right now. But after losing out on a nice blonde porthole tabletop set, I figured, well, why don't I just contact this guy, see if I can get some photos and find out what he's really got. Plus, I was kind of curious anyways. Well, it turns out it is not the console version, it's a tabletop version, and it's a very early version, and fairly common, perhaps even rare. So I hopped in my car, went over, and took a closer look at it, and right away I was disappointed. And in a lot of ways I'm still disappointed, to the point of even thinking I may come to regret this purchase. Not that it was expensive, but just thinking about the sheer amount of work and probably money it's going to take to restore this set to its original look and functionality. So right away what struck me was the finish on the cabinet. Definitely been refinished. And whoever did it, perhaps it was even the guy I bought it from, you know. It didn't even occur to me to ask him where he got the set or if he had done any work to it. Because as soon as I got there I started pointing out this is wrong and this is wrong and this is wrong and this wasn't done right. And perhaps I was insulting him, I don't know. He didn't say anything. I didn't get the impression he was a TV restorer. Well, I mean, he told me he wasn't, but I don't know if he did anything to the cabinet or not. So what am I talking about? Well, it's been stripped down to the raw mahogany and then just clear coated. No grain filler, no toner. Now, that I could live with. I can strip off what is probably semi-gloss poly, fill in the grain, use some toner lacquer, and finish lacquer and make it look real nice. However, whoever stripped this must have taken some rough grit sandpaper and gone ape on this cabinet and sanded the crap out of it. So they've gone through the veneer in many places. Every corner, right down to the base wood, along the top edge here, this corner. Now the seller said, oh, well, maybe that's normal wear. No, that's not normal wear. That is somebody being way, way too aggressive with sanding the cabinet. Now, I'll give you some advice. You ever refinish a cabinet, be it an old radio or old TV, you really don't need to do any sanding. It already had a nice smooth finish at some point. All you're doing is taking out the old finish, putting on a new finish. There's no reason to sand this aggressively. It's just a thin layer of veneer over hardwood. Nothing to sand. So, a few other things that I'm a little PO'd about. Grill cloth's been replaced with some horrible synthetic stuff. You'd be more at home on a guitar amp. This should have a nice dark patina with a little highlighting on it. It's just been completely stripped down to the raw brass. There may have been some glass in here, I'm not sure. This is a tuning mechanism. Your little handle you turn here, and it's continuous tuning, and there's an eye tube up here. At least the tuning mechanism seems to work. I have to open it up to find out for sure. It's missing a knob. Now, what had me puzzled for a little while when I first got there is that it appeared obvious it had been refinished, but it's got decals on it. Then I looked more closely and realized, when I got it under brighter light, that, oh, I see what they did. Which is kind of even more of a irritating, is they didn't strip or sand around the old decals. So this is still the old finish. It's been clear coated with poly. So this area is grain filled and has the right color to it, which just makes it stand out because you got this wavy band going through here, which is a darker color than the rest of the cabinet. So I don't know what they were thinking. Whatever. At least now I know what the decals look like, and I can get a reproduction set made, I suppose. They're not even in that great a condition, so I don't know why whoever just felt so compelled to keep the original decals because they're pretty deteriorated anyways. Alright, so that's the cabinet. Got to hunt down a knob. I can probably, if I really want to, treat this or paint this to get the dark color out, and then I believe this raised area here is supposed to be bright brass, whatever. So let's look at the rest of the set. Now obviously there's goo running down here. That's fine, that's normal. This the insides of this set are a Dumont RA103 clone. Back then they may have even just purchased a chassis from Dumont. And I've seen plenty of Dumonts, most notably the Doghouse model, that has this black goo running down. That's just the cushioning mask they put around the CRT that's melted, similar to the Motorola VT71 sets. So that doesn't bother me. But what doesn't bother me is that the seller had powered up the set before I even contacted him, and he had it running when I got there. So it's good and bad. I mean, one, I know the power transformer's good because the set was sort of functioning. Screen was lit up, so we know the power transformer's good, flyback's good, yoke is good, and it did kind of do something when you would tune this. The speaker would react somehow. So, you know, that means a large portion of the set seems to be functional. But what was really, really disappointing is that in the center of the screen, 2-inch diameter dark spot, which I'm 99% sure is an ion burn. That's something that was really common, or not common, all the pre-war sets had it. The reason is that the electron gun, or I should say, you never get a perfect vacuum inside of a picture tube. There's always a few molecules of air inside there. So when you fire up the CRT, the high voltage is accelerating not only electrons, but a few molecules of air. If those air molecules strike the phosphor, they damage it and make it turn dark and darker over time. So what few pre-war sets are around and functioning, they all have some ion burn to varying degrees. You can find some videos on YouTube where they have dark spots in the middle of them. Now this isn't a pre-war set. I seriously doubt it's a pre-war picture tube. So why would it have that ion burn? I was a little bit puzzled about that until I was driving home and I thought about it. I'm willing to bet some money that this picture tube has been rebuilt. And when they rebuilt it, they put the wrong kind of electron gun in it. They put a straight gun, not a bent gun. See, there's I think a common misconception about how ion traps work and all that. The ion trap is not the thing on the neck. Those are magnets. The ion trap is the structure inside the electron gun, well, I should say it's a combination of the electron gun and the magnets. See, sets that don't have aluminized screens, they should have a bent electron gun. The electrons and the ions point to the side of the neck. The electron gun is bent inside the neck, and everything shoots out the side of the neck. The magnet bends back the electron beam, but it does not affect the ions. Ions are not affected by a magnetic field. So there is no way for ions to strike the face of that picture tube because they go out the side of the neck. However, if you put in a straight gun, the electrons and the ions shoot straight at the screen, you get an ion burn. Now, later picture tubes were aluminized. There was a thin layer of aluminum behind the phosphor to prevent the ions from damaging it. Those could use a straight gun. But this was rebuilt. They used the wrong type of gun. It's a straight gun, and that's where the ion burn comes from. Now, if this chassis uses a 12 LP4, it's not the worst thing in the world because I could dig up a spare if I had to. But the original Dumont, I think, used a 12 VP4, which are very, very difficult to find, if not impossible. 12 LP4 can be used, but the 12 VP4 is a shorter neck, so that might cause some problems. But won't know about that until I open up the set, which I have not done yet. I haven't even looked in the back because when I was putting it into my car, when I picked up the set, it's back on it, which I have not taken off. However, it's not the original back, which is something else that irritates me. It's just what appears to be just a random piece of metal from something else. Doesn't cover the whole back. They probably drilled a hole here and there to mount it. However, when I did have it in my car, I did tip it up briefly, tip the whole set up, and looked at the bottom, and there is a hole in the bottom, so you could like actually access the chassis without taking it out of the cabinet. This, if I'm really lucky, this might actually be the bottom to this set. So I could take this off and mount it properly underneath, and then just leave it back off or fabricate it back out of some masonite or something. Alright, now I'm kind of dreading to see what's inside this set, because whoever did this work on the cabinet may very well have worked on the insides, and who knows what I'm going to find inside there. I know it kind of works, but could have all kinds of cobbled together parts and horrible repairs and who knows what. So let's see. Looks like I just need to take off a few flat-bladed screws, and this back will come off. Plus, I got to take this chassis out anyways to have any hope of getting this inside, because I'm by myself right now, and this is a beast. Kind of impressed with myself that I got it out of my car, because it weighs definitely well over 100 pounds. The seller, I think, has said 200. It's not that heavy, but definitely a big awkward thing to carry for sure. I got off the back easily enough, and I can tell you immediately, this is not the original bottom to the set. This is way too modern. Not only is it just way too clean looking, but this label is too modern. The stuff it's referring to, the types of fuses and so on, nothing to do with this set. But well, alright, so now for a look inside. Now that is why this set's so friggin' heavy. I've also got a Crosley 9407, which also uses the Dumont RA103 clone chassis, and that thing is also ridiculously heavy for the same reason. See, Dumont back in the day was the best money could buy, and they really engineered their sets well, so that's why they have these huge power transformers. Alright, well, good news is, from what I can see, this isn't butchered. Ooh, man, this is a 12 VP4. Damn. How do I know that so quickly? High voltage anode. These use a different type of high voltage connector. They don't have that big suction cup. They have a little button thing for the high voltage connection. Also, I can tell this neck is way shorter. It's only like this long. A 12 LP4 is like 1.5 inches longer. So if I go with a 12 LP4, the neck will stick out like here, which would be out the back of the cabinet. Not a big deal since I'm missing the back anyways. Otherwise, I think they're rather compatible. Caution, 10,000 volts. Won't be able to tell if it was rebuilt or not till I take this whole assembly off, which I'm not going to mess with right now. Well, okay, so the good news is, from what I can see, this has not been horribly messed with. This may very well be the original picture tube, may or may not have been rebuilt. Something else I got to research is, I'm not 100% sure. Actually, you know, now that I look at this, so I'm not 100% sure about 12 VP4s and whether or not they can get ion burns, but take a look at this. There's something very noticeably absent. That is, there's no ion trap magnet. Because this neck is so short, there's nowhere to put an ion trap magnet. Normally there'd be a little clip-on magnet here, and you slide it around and move it back and forth to get the brightest picture, and what you're actually doing is manipulating the electron beam so it's getting bent back and going to the front of the picture tube. But this, we got the yoke and we got the focus magnet, electromagnet, there's nowhere to put it. So maybe that's just the way they design these 12 LP4s, and an ion burn is completely normal when they've seen a lot of use. In which case, I won't complain anymore about it, because that just means it's original. Something funky down in there. Let's see if I can get this tube out. Let's see what that's about. I think it's just some paper wrapped around a filter cap. Or, I don't know what that is. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Yeah, next I'm going to try tipping this set on its side, because I know you can get a shot inside the chassis from underneath the cabinet. I double checked to make sure that the chassis was firmly bolted to the cabinet before tipping it. It's on its side. Quite often when I find sets they are not bolted securely, you tip it on its side and the chassis falls over. Maybe damages the picture tube, so we always do check for. You can see more of the horrible cabinet refinishing on the side here. But at least the veneer was not sanded through, except maybe down here in this corner. Now, as for what's inside, this was a bit of a surprise. Pleasant surprise. It looks to be 100% original. And that's what I was really hoping to see. Which makes it all the more impressive that the set sort of does something. Now, when we powered it up, or when he powered it up, and then I played around with it for about a minute before turning it off, we had a full raster on the screen, no image or anything. A little bit of static out of the speaker. When I put it into FM mode, got some kind of reaction as I tuned around the dial. See, this has a continuous tuner that goes through channels, I think 2 through 6, then the FM band, and then 7 through 13, because the FM radio band is actually stuck right in the middle of the old analog TV band, so this will tune both. So it's actually also an FM radio. And if you look on the mode switch here, it's got TV, FM, and phono. So when you're in FM only mode, it disables some of the TV circuitry, I believe. Also, it has a nifty tuning eye, which was not doing anything when we had the stuff powered up, so that might be burned out. It's a 6AF7, I believe. Alright, so let's take a closer look. There's a nice aroma too, but I'm not kidding about that. I mean, I actually kind of like the way it smells. Sort of like old wood and cigar smoke. Not the usual stink I'm used to. Like moldy basement kind of smell. Maybe it almost smells like a little. Well, I doubt they use cedar wood in it, but it actually has like a little bit of cedar smell to it. It's an interesting place to stick a little tube, probably a 6AL5. So, yeah, this will be interesting to work on. And I wouldn't mind working on this at the same time as my Crosley 9407, which I'm pretty sure does have a 12 LP4 in it. That one I've got inside in my shelving system. I don't think I ever did a video on it. I've never pulled the chassis out either, but I'll give you guys a quick look at it when I get back inside. Now, as maybe you can hear in the background, the rain has come, so I'm not going to attempt to bring this inside just now. We've got another crazy warm front coming through Chicago, and it's going to be maybe as high as 60 degrees tomorrow, and it's supposed to be rain all night and all day tomorrow because of the weather fronts clashing, so maybe a while before I can actually get this inside. In the meantime, I will find a nice area to put it out here and cover it up. It shouldn't come to any harm. So, mixed bag. So I take a step back. I guess my main complaint is just the crappy refinishing job and whatever may have happened to this brass bezel. So, as far as what I'm going to do with it, I can just leave it the veneer. I can just strip it and do my thing and then refinish it and just live with the worn out veneer. Another option would be to replace the veneer. Boy, I'll save that for well down the road in years to come. Possibly if I heat this up, it'll loosen up the old glue and the veneer will peel off and I can put new veneer on, but that's not for the faint of heart. And then the other thing would be about getting reproduction decals. Stromberg Carlson, the manufacturer's logo, that I think is available from Radio Days or some other place. The various controls, probably not. So I guess I should be at least be happy that these are still here so I can take reference photos and have some reproductions made, just like I did for Admiral sets recently. And as far as picture tube, I'm going to go inside and do a little research on that. Because if it is original and the ion burn is just the way they are, then I suppose it just adds a nice little touch of authenticity and age to it. I did a little searching on the internet and discovered that the picture tube in that set is a 12JP4. That's what Dumont used in their early sets. And indeed, it uses a straight electron gun with no aluminized coating, and they often suffer from ion burn. That's just the way it goes. Later, Dumont switched to a bent gun at 12QP4. And there's plenty of questions online. Can I use a 12LP4 to substitute for a 12JP4? Yeah, sort of. Here's a Sylvania substitution guide, and they list as their recommendation for the 12JP4 is a 12KP4. That would be nice. It's a nice aluminized tube. Great. They never show up for sale. So, what's their next recommendation? It's 12LP4, but you gotta look at these notes here. And in that column there, we see, I can't really read that. Length, plus 1 1/4. That means it's longer. On these other notes, A and C and D2, those are differences in the voltages. So, yeah, you can use one, but yeah, do some tweaking. Another possibility would be 12QP4, which is the same length. 12RP4, TP4, UP4. I'm not familiar with those at all. I've never seen one or heard of one, so it's very unlikely. Now these last two are actually rectangular tubes, and they're 14-inch rather than 12. That would be if you wanted to actually retrofit your cabinet and cut a bigger hole in it, which of course I'm not going to do. So for now, I'll just go with it and wax nostalgically as I looked at the burned out spot in the middle of the picture tube. Once I get that set inside, I will power it up briefly so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. Here's that shelving system I was talking about, and that's where I've got a bunch of my sets stored. And here's the Crosley. As you can see, it's similar knob layout, one on the left, 4 on the right, and there's that same type of tuning control. This one's laid out a little bit differently though. Instead of having the tuning eye on top and then the tuning dial, this one has it side by side. Otherwise though, it's essentially the same set. So I'm saying I think it would make sense to work on them both at the same time, or at least pull out both chassis and kind of compare and contrast as I work on it. I believe this one is also pretty much all original, unrestored, unmolested. But I'm not 100% certain. So now the last challenge will be to not only get that Stromberg set up inside, but figure out where the heck I'm going to put it. Doesn't help any that I got that RCA 630TS recently, because they're both huge, heavy sets. Oh, there's another Stromberg TC10, another very, very cool set. That's not going anywhere. That light will never sell. Same goes for this Emerson 648. Motorola though, I want to do a little bit more work on that, and that put into storage, I think, or maybe sell it, something like that. But that won't be enough room for the Stromberg, so I'll work something out. Maybe I can move this GE 810 somewhere else and put it on top of this Admiral. I don't know. Save that for another day. My buddy Dave stopped by and helped me carry the set inside up onto the back porch. And I'm going to try powering it up. Now remember, the seller had this on when I arrived, and he said he had been running it on a number of occasions, tinkering around with it, so I'm not that concerned about it. Plus, these sets are pretty well made, and it's fused And I'm also going to plug it into a fused Variac, so I think we'll be alright. I'm not going to run it for very long. A couple things I want to accomplish. One, when he had it powered up, he never hooked up an antenna to it. So like you get a static. I want to see if I can pick up our local channel 6, and I want to see if I can pick up any FM reception. And I want to show you what that ion burn looks like. So let's give this a try. Plug that in here. Down. And turn this on. So we got an illumination behind the dial of sorts. Eye tube does not glow. Let's see, what mode am I in? Lighting's kind of bad back here. It's in FM radio mode, so the TV should not turn on. Yeah, it kind of tunes, you get some crackling as I tune the dial, but obviously no stations. Oh, the eye tube is lighting up. It's just not very bright. Oh, it kind of is reacting too. Alright, so I'm going to flip over to TV mode. It's TV mode. No, it's phono mode. That's TV mode. And there it is. And there is the ion burn. Now let's see about channel 6. There's channel 4. Channel 3, I'm going the wrong way. 5, 6. Kind of something. Let's see, what are these controls for? Is focus? Focus control works. That's brightness, I'm guessing. So it's not that dim. Just got the ion burn and contrast. Brightness and contrast. Hey, I'm actually getting some snow. This kind of looks like reception. Well, I guess one last thing I can do is try hooking up a stronger signal source. Let's put it back to FM mode. Definitely no reception. I hooked up a converter box, so I'm feeding a nice strong signal into the set, and unfortunately it didn't really make much difference, but discovered a few things. One is I wasn't using the controls quite right. So this mode switch here, we've got phono, FM. And it turns out there's actually 2 TV positions. First one is for up to channel 6, and then the second position is for 7 through 13. So these are both TV positions. And then there's the FM radio. If you look on the tuning dial here, see you go up through 4, 5, and 6. And then here's the FM band. So there's like FM 98, 100, 102, 104. And eventually we come around to oh, I guess there's the TV channels, I think. 13, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm not entirely sure how these tuning channels go. And then back on to 7. So I'll have to look up how these tuning numbers are supposed to go. So there's numbers up here, like there's a 7 up here, but there's also a 7 down here. So maybe when I go into TV mode, I should just go all the way around the dial from one end to the other. One other thing I've noticed is that when I wiggle this tuning knob, the picture jumps around. Now, the other end of this dial is a fairly long ceramic rod with 4 roller inductors on it. It's attached to what's called a Mallory induct tuner. You can Google that induct tuner and you'll find a whole bunch of info. It's fairly common for that ceramic shaft to get broken, and it might be in this case, so I might not be tuning stuff in properly. But it does kind of react, like the patterns are static and the TV change. Like there, there's almost kind of sort of something. There's some sound. I heard this before too. It's actually a FM radio station, kind of bleeding through when I'm in TV mode. But it's definitely not the TV station that I should be receiving. Now I'm back to 4, so this should be about where I should be receiving my TV station. I'm not. Oh, this does have channel 1. Somebody asked me about that. I said I wasn't sure. Indeed, this does go all the way to channel 1. Cool. Alright, so enough of that. Obviously it's got some issues, but nothing too terrible. What I mean is, power transformer's good flyback yoke. Picture tube's got an ion burn, but it's still good, so, insides I'm fairly confident I can get this set working, so it should be a really fun project. When? Well, you know me, I'll get to it when I get to it. In the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this look at a Stromberg Carlson TV-12 from 1947.